Cisco instructor Andrea here. At this point, you've probably already done some practice with binary to decimal and decimal to binary. What this video is going to do is it's going to point out a few different tips and tricks that you can use to make binary to decimal and decimal to binary easier and faster by looking for some easy patterns, something that I call easy patterns. We already know that an octet is made up of 8 positions, and these are called the positional values. An IPv4 address is 4 octets, each with 8 bits for a total of 32 bits. And these positional values, they repeat. It doesn't matter if I'm in octet 1, octet 2, octet 3, or octet 4. These values stay the same. Let's take a look at what we've been doing. If I have this binary value where the 1 is turned on, then I know I've got to add 128. The 64 is off, 32 off, 16 off. The 8 is on, the 4 is on, the 2 is on, and the 1 is on. What we would normally do is we would add 128 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, and that would equal 143. Let's look at another way to use easy patterns. And I'll show you this sample in a couple of slides, doing the easy patterns. All right, the first easy pattern is just when all of the ones are on, we have 255. Keep in mind that sometimes when you're solving for binary, it might be easier to subtract than to add. In other words, if all of the bits were on except the 2, I could take 255 minus 2 and get 253. That might be faster than adding 128 plus 64 plus 32. You get what I mean. Same goes with if I had all of these on except the 16. It might be easier to say 255 minus 16. That's the first thing, is sometimes it's faster to subtract. Let's look at this first easy pattern. I call this an easy pattern because we can see that the first positional values are all turned on. 1, 1, 1, 1. So we have 4 ones in a row followed by 0, 0, 0, 0. Now this is 240. Whenever you see this pattern, that's going to be 240. Let's look at the next one. The next one is we've got all zeros and then the last ones are turned on. That is 15. You want to memorize those, and I'm going to show you why. Let's look at this example. So we've got easy pattern 15. Now we're looking at that same number that we looked at earlier. This time though, instead of adding 128 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1, we're going to use the easy pattern because we've now learned that when all of these are turned on, that equals 15. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 128 plus 15 to come up with 143. It's just a little bit less work than having to do 128 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. Let's look at another one. We're going to use the easy pattern 15 again. This time I'm adding 32 plus 15. And I don't have to do 32 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. So 32 plus 15 is 47. If you can just memorize when the last 4 are on, you've got a 15. Now let's look at the other easy pattern, which was 240. All right, here's an example. The first 4 ones are turned on in these positional values, and then the last 2. All I have to do now is say, look, oh, those are on. So I know that I've got 240 plus 2 plus 1. So I'm adding 3. That equals 243. When I look at this, because I know that this is 240, I don't have to do a bunch of additional math and addition. Let's look at another one. This time I can see here my easy pattern. The first 4 ones are on. That tells me it's 240 and the 4. So now I know I have 244. Let's look at some more easy patterns. Here's the next one to memorize. When you see 1010, that's 160. 1010 is 160, and then all the others are off. Another easy pattern is if the first 4 are off and the last one is 1010, that easy pattern is 10. Now I can add those together and I get 170, and I have this easy pattern 10101010. That is 170. And again, if I just turned on the 1, I would have 171. We're going to use the easy patterns. Here's an easy pattern using 160. I've got 1010 turned on. Right now I know that's 160, and then I can see the 8 is turned on. Instead of adding 128 plus 32 plus 8, I add 160 plus 8 for a total of 168. I just have trained myself to see the pattern. Here's using easy pattern 10. I've got 0, 1, 0, 0, and then there's my easy pattern, 1, 0, 1, 0. So now I'm going to add 64 plus 10. 64 plus 10 is easy math, 74. Now I'm using easy pattern 160 and 10. I can see my easy pattern of 160 right here. And then I've got the 1011. Now what I'm adding is I'm adding 160 plus 11 for 171. More easy patterns. 0, 1, 0, 1, and then 0, 0, 0, 0. This is 80. This is easy pattern 80. And if I combine easy pattern 80 with easy pattern 10, then what I'm going to get is 90, right? I'm going to get 90. When I start to see these, it just makes adding them faster. Looking at easy pattern 80, 0, 1, 0, 1, I've got the 8 and the 4 turned on, which is 12. Now all of a sudden I can add 80 and 12, and I've got 92. Another easy pattern using 80. I've got 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. This is going to be 85. I've got easy pattern 80 plus 5. This is 85. Here are some other ones that are handy, and I would recommend you memorize them. After you've gotten good at the first easy patterns, the 240, 80, 10, 15, look at starting to memorize these. When the first one is turned on, that's 128. If I have the first 2 turned on, that's 192. And then if I have the first 3 turned on, that's 224. Imagine if you see 1, 1, 0, 0, and then an easy pattern of 1, 0, 1, 0. That means I'm adding 192 and 10 to get 202. Again, let's say I memorize 1, 1, 1, 0. I know that's 224. And let's say I see the 2. Now I know that's 226. When you start to memorize what these equal, everything gets faster. Here's another one that I think comes in really handy. 0, 1, 1, 0. That is 96. Imagine if you see 0, 1, 1, 0, you know that's 96, and then you turn the 4 on. You have 100. You have 0, 1, 1, 0, and you turn the 2 on. You have 98. It just gets easier to add. Another handy one is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. This is 24. If you have the 2 middle ones turned on, that is 24. Another easy pattern is when you've got the 4 in the middle turned on. 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. This is 60. This is 60. If you see the 60 and then you've got the 1, you've got 61. Or even if you turn on the 128, that math is still easier to add 128 plus 60 than 128 plus 32 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4. Remember these patterns. It makes adding easier. Here's an easy pattern using 96. I've got the 96 easy pattern and the 10 easy pattern. I've got 106. Here's the 24 easy pattern. I can see here that I've got the 24 and the 128. Now what I have to add is 128 plus 24 instead of 128 plus 16 plus 8, and I get a value of 152. Here's one using the 60. I've got the easy pattern of 60 and the 1 is turned on. Now I'm just adding 60 plus 1 to get 61. There is a worksheet to practice that goes along with this video. It is in the binary, decimal, and hex practice. Let's go ahead and click on the easy patterns. And what you're going to do here is you're going to fill in the positional values, get a little practice. right? 128, 64. And then the way that you fill this out is you're going to look at the binary and you're going to enter that in. And then you're going to tell me what the decimal equivalent is. That's 255. How about this one? This easy pattern, I'm going to enter this in. You can see I've got 4 ones on in a row. The rest are all turned off. And if you remember from our video, this is an easy pattern of 240. If you're really good at binary already, you don't necessarily need to fill these in. You can just give me the decimal value. I can see right here is a good easy pattern. This one's 80. This is for you to use to practice. Also, the next sheet is doing it in reverse, because the easy patterns also help in reverse when we're trying to go decimal to binary. Here's 251. Well, I know that in order to get 240, I turn on the first bits, I turn on the first 4 bits, and then to get to 10, 1010, and then I turn on the 1. I'm now at 251. The easy patterns help with binary to decimal and decimal to binary. I hope this helps and that you'll use this and you will start practicing the easy patterns.